Hi, good afternoon. This is the Democratic Alliance Labour Report, Friday the 27th of January 2023. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to talk about a couple of things today, very exciting things. One of them is obviously the Hlaudi Motsoeneng. You remember him of the SABC, what happened there. What's happened with the RAF, the Road Accident Fund, cadre deployment, Minister Mantashe sacking his director as a nuclear activist. The Eastern Cape High Court is moving, and a magistrate who called his boss a black bitch. So there's a couple of things that happened in the labour law. Thank you for tuning in. As I said, please share this with friends. This is on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. I'm Michael Bagram, the Labour spokesperson, and it's Friday the 27th of January 2023. Well, there's been some interesting developments. First, Hlaudi Motsoeneng, you remember him. He ran the SABC into the ground. Remember there was a court judgment against him where he had to pay 11.8 million rand back to the fiscus. He appealed. He's lost his appeal. He now has to pay that money. I don't think he's got it, and it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. So yes, a very fortunate end for a man that destroyed a public entity. Let's hope that the entity is able to claw some money back out of him. The Road Accident Fund, they are completely destroyed. They are a joke for those of us that haven't been in car accidents, but if you've been in a car accident, it's not great to have a joke like this. Well, last week we heard, you might have heard in the report, how the Road Accident Fund had tried to stop medical aids being able to claim directly from the fund. Well, that's been turned down. They've lost that case, and now the medical aids again can claim from the RAF. It's the only thing that's working with regard to the RAF, very similar to what's happening with the compensation fund under the Department of Employment and Labour. So the government does everything in its power to try and stop things that are actually working, but at least the courts are independent. And as the Democratic Alliance, we salute the courts for the good work they're doing, and they're able to talk truth to power. Another interesting thing that happened, the Distell and merger that's taking place. Obviously at the moment, they're using labour brokers to supply labour. And there's been some disturbing allegations against the labour brokers where people are offering jobs for sex. That has emerged, and we are waiting to see what the outcome of this is. And as the Democratic Alliance, we are saying that that's not only wrong and illegal, but it's completely immoral, and it's the system that's pushing a lot of this. We must make sure that the system works and that labour brokers are properly monitored. What we must move on to is what has been at the forefront of the Democratic Alliance fight against the system is this cadre development, the cadre deployment of people being put into posts because they happen to be members of the ANC, or the ANC owes them something, or they're going to do something for the ANC. This is cadre deployment at its worst. It is the cornerstone of state capture. And in the labour field, this is a very interesting issue, because if in fact the court now goes ahead and says that that was cadre deployment, that was illegal and was wrong, and I believe it is wrong and illegal, then those people that have been appointed might stand to lose their jobs. Just think about that one. There are thousands of civil servants who were appointed in the last 3 years in particular through cadre deployment. In other words, they weren't the best person for the job. They might not have even been able to do the job in the first place. As we've seen, government is so broken and dysfunctional, possibly because of most of those people just can't do their jobs. But what about the people that had applied and didn't get the job because someone from a cadre deployment system got the job instead? That person has a claim against the government and against that entity, the person that didn't get the job. And the reality is there must be thousands of those people. They're all waiting in the wings to see what happens over here. And as the Democratic Alliance, we applaud them for this. They need to watch this. This cadre deployment has been an absolute cancer and is destroying the country. And so I wish the Democratic Alliance well in its litigation. I know that Dr. Schreiber is at the head of that litigation as a DAMP, and I wish him well on that, in his endeavors on that particular one. Well, let's move on quickly to Minister Mantashe, the biggest joke of all. He has a regulatory body overlooking nuclear activity, and he stepped in and just unilaterally went and sacked someone. I mean, you can't make this up. He avoided the labor law, avoided all systems, decided he didn't like the fellow and sacked him. Well, the fellow went to court, and the labor court reinstated him. Minister Mantashe has made a mockery of the labor law. And the Democratic Alliance wants to point out to you that although there's some laws that we might not be happy with, there's some laws that we don't think are correct, we stick to them, we follow them. We don't make a mockery of the law, which Minister Mantashe has now done. Excuse me. Well, another interesting development, and bear with me on this one. The High Court in Makhanda, you remember, that was Grahamstown in my time, now called Makhanda. The call is for the High Court to close down as soon as possible and to move to Bishu. Now, we got all sorts of problems with that. Well, one of the biggest issue, of course, is that 5,000 jobs in Makhanda will go down the drain. Bishu doesn't have the wherewithal in the system to pick this up. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't understand. It's going to cost millions, if not billions. You can imagine everyone with their fingers in the cookie jar for this big move to take place from Makhanda to Bishu. Makhanda, Grahamstown, has been the seat of the court in the Eastern Cape for literally dozens and dozens of years. And quite frankly, it's working. I don't know why we have to spend money to fix it when it ain't broke. So we'll watch that very carefully. Then finally today, I mean, you wouldn't be able to make this up, but a magistrate called his boss a black bitch. Now, not only is that illegal, criminal, immoral, wrong, it just goes down to show that some people somehow just never got with it. Some people need to be jailed. That's the bottom line. And if that allegation is true, we can't tolerate behavior like that, especially from a magistrate, the person that's supposed to uphold the law. So we're going to watch that very carefully. So thank you very much for listening to me. It's Michael Bagram, DAMP, Labour spokesperson, Friday the 27th of January, 2023. Thank you very much.